No, he would listen to her talk about it a little further. She would further scold him about some of his hazardous driving, you know, and I never did see anything hazardous about it, but she did, you know, and after he talked to her a little more, then he would finally settle it by saying, "Well, then dry up."
That meant enough. No more. Shut up.
Dry.
Well, dry up. Daddy tell you about when Papa used to put you out in the pen with the cows to help sort the cows, and he would tell you to get out there and you were scared to death, but you were more afraid of him than you were the cows.
No, I was what?
When Papa would put you in the corral with the cows and separate them,
Yeah.
and those cows were walking all around you and you were scared to death.
Oh, of course.
But you were scareder of Papa than you were of the cows.
Absolutely. you figured out early who to be afraid of, and you'll take a chance with the cows.
But not with Papa. But not with Papa. Don't take a chance.
No, he would. We would start working with the cattle. Put some of them in this pen, some in this pen, that pen, and this, cutting them out, and he'd tell us. He says, "Cut that one out. Cut this one out," and that meant just whatever price you pay, just go and pay it.
Oh, God.
Well, do you remember anything about my dad's horse?
Shorty,
Shorty, yeah.
sure I remember much about him.
Well, when you talk about cows, my dad used to brag about what a good roper he was. Do you remember him roping cows?
Yeah, sure.
You do?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the most notable story I remember about Shorty, the horse, is that we built a brand new barbed wire, very tight, strung over near the little railroad stop at Kirk, Texas, which is not very far from our house, but it's on the railroad, and nobody would know anything about the little stop. It's just a place where the train used to stop and fill up with water. And anyway, Shorty was over there in a part of this new fenced area, and he was running. He failed to see that fence because it was new, and he cut a X right in his forehead and just laid that skin wide open. Boy, it was a chore for us to get a hold of him and sew that up. We had a time with that.
Who did the sewing?
Either your daddy or Papa. I'm not sure. I'm not sure which one of those. I know I did not.
We won't talk about blood.
No.
No blood. Well, I'm just now remembering a story about one of you boys brought home a new Bible.
A new Bible.
A new version, the New Revised Standard Version of the Bible. I heard this story when I was a kid. I don't remember who brought it home. Maybe it was Glenn, or maybe it's you. I don't know. But Mam wouldn't let it in the house.
Mam was what?
She wouldn't let it in the house. Do you remember that story?
No.
She wouldn't let anything but the King James
It
version.
was the wrong version.
Yeah. And it seemed like I heard she said it was good enough for Paul and Silas, it's good enough for me,
Right.
and would not let the Revised Standard Version.
I don't remember that.
Well, what about a story about a dog
Dog.
that Pawpaw had fenced off, put a fence around the house to keep the dog in, and then the dog wouldn't let him in. Remember that?
He remembers it.
And then something bad happened to that dog.
The dog wouldn't let Papa
What happened there?
Yeah.
Tell that story, Daddy. Tell that one about Papa coming home in the middle of the night and that dog wouldn't let him in.
And that dog was.
Wouldn't let him in. He was there to protect Mam, and the dog wouldn't let Papa in.
Did I make that one up?
No, it's true. Do you remember it?
Vaguely. I'm not clear on it.
Well, he was working shift work at Kelly Field, and he got a dog to protect Mam while he was at work. And he came home one night in the middle of the night, and he tried to get in the fence to get in the house, and the dog wouldn't let him in. So he just found a bat and took care of the dog.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
Yes. Oh, man.
Well, how about something more modern? What was it that inspired you to build your own swimming pool?
It was what seemed to be a mysterious source of water we had at a depth of only 37 feet to the water, and then the rest of it was down below it. It had 17 feet of water in the well. It was a well like this, see, about 5 feet, about 5 feet across it.
An old hand-dug well.
I'm sorry.
That's an old hand-dug well.
Yeah,
Somebody dug
yeah.
by hand.
And the mystery remains, how in the world did they dig that by hand and keep the dirt and rocks out of there while they dug? 17 feet of water. I mean, how do you handle that kind of water? I don't know. It's still a mystery, see? And I believed that it was a source that we wouldn't have to be worrying about overdrawing on it with just relatively smaller pumps and everything. And so I built a swimming pool with the knowledge that I was going against most advisors that I'm sure knew more about it than I did. They had experience with it. One of them was my daddy, for instance. He had more. He had more experience, and but he never discouraged me from attempting to build that swimming pool. Never. And I know him from past conversations. I've heard him talk. And when I was a very small child, we used to build concrete water troughs for cattle. Just a little thing, 5 feet across his seat. Well, this swimming pool is 25 feet.
Diameter?
Is a lot of difference there, see. And so I launched out on faith, and an old gentleman off of the street, seemed to be, came into my little jewelry shop where I worked. That is, I didn't own the shop, but I did work for the guy that owned it. And so I got to talking to him, and we were just passing the time of the day, and we got to talking about various things like that. And he said, "You can make concrete adhere to the next one." See, this is the dilemma that comes with pouring concrete, is when you have to let it sit enough for the moisture to move out, enough to where that the next pouring to it will draw back from it, see? And you get a crack in it, and you got a crack, and you got a leak. I mean, that's the way concrete works, see? I mean, that was drilled in my head when I was a young child, that you can't pour old concrete and new concrete together and make them adhere, because it just it's a moisture thing, see, and temperature and a lot of other things. So he told me, you can do that if you do it just right. I said, how is just right? He says just right is taking that concrete and pouring it as close together as you can in time-wise, you know, as few hours as possible between the time you poured this batch and this batch and this batch and this batch. And he said, and when you pour it with as little water as you can make it. You have to get it so thick that when you turn the bucket over, you have to pull it out with a hoe, a short handle hoe or something. It can't run out of the bucket, it's too wet, too much moisture, see. So he said to just pour it as dry as possible and pound it with a 2x4. Pound and pound and pound and pound. Squeeze the water out of it.
Did you have some help? I think Judy remembers some of that labor.
She does. Sure.
I just remember what it was great to visit. Y'all had a swimming pool. We didn't know anybody else in the world that had a swimming pool. You were the only ones.
I'm sorry, I didn't.
I said when we were kids, we didn't know anybody that had a swimming pool except for you, and that was a real treat to come visit and swim in your pool.
Well, see, I thought I didn't do it unknowingly, and not know that there was a lot of risk involved. I knew there was a lot of risk involved, and what are you going to do with that much concrete out there if it was a trial and error?
If it was an error.
What are you going to?
He built this out of sections. They were about. My recollection is you had you did one section at a time, and it was like 3 or 4 feet.
That's right.
Curved, and then on top of each other.
That's right.
And I don't know how long it took you.
That's exactly right.
But I remember you had this little machine. You didn't mix the concrete by hand, but you shoveled it all in this little mixer and built that thing piece by piece.
Yeah. Well,
It still stays dry.
I poured the floor first and put the steel in it, and it looked like an unfinished basket out there. Steel was going skyward, and a flat bottom on it. And I had the ready mix concrete people bringing the floor. The floor was poured all at one time.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah, because I could do that with a ready mix concrete.
The base.
Yeah. And I got one of my friends to come and help me with a 4x4 and put a stake here, kind of like a pie cutter, you know, go around this and level this with this 4x4 piece of timber. Heavy, it was heavy. See, and you just bounce it off of the top, and there was a 1x6 outer rim of boards, lumber, that would curve easy enough. 25 feet is pretty good sized circle, and it'll curve and bend for you. And so you put your stakes down and bend that stuff around, and then you pour that on the top of it and tamp it down. And when I poured the walls, I assigned every kid we had there available to punch it. Keep pounding.
Really, you want to try to put it?